The week that changed everything. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the glass desk as Marcus sat alone in his penthouse office, the ocean stretching endlessly behind him. He stared at the blank contract in front of him, his pen hovering uncertainly. Outside, white columns framed the crystalline view of the sea, and potted plants stood like silent sentries in the corners of the room. It was beautiful. It was perfect. And it was unbearably lonely. Marcus was the CEO of a thriving real estate empire. At 38, he had everything the world said he should want. The corner office, the waterfront view, the respect of his colleagues. Yet every evening, he returned to this empty penthouse and wondered what he was building it all for. Tomorrow, his mother was hosting the annual charity gala. She had called him 3 times that week, her voice tinged with concern. "You need to bring someone," she had said gently. "The board members will ask questions. More importantly, you shouldn't be alone." Marcus had smiled through the phone, but they both knew the truth. His last relationship had ended 2 years ago, and since then, he had thrown himself into work. There was always another deal. Always another building rising on the skyline. But there was never anyone to share it with. He had been desperate enough to consider calling an escort service when his assistant, Janet, mentioned something casually over coffee. "There's this website," she had said awkwardly, "where people hire companions for events." Very discreet. Very professional. She had written down the name on a sticky note and left it on his desk. Marcus had almost thrown it away. Almost. But desperation has a way of changing your calculations. That was how he found himself in this position, waiting in his office for a woman named Sophie. The arrangement was simple and transactional. $10,000 for the week. She would be his date to the gala. She would be convincing. She would make his mother stop worrying. At the end of 7 days, they would part ways, and everything would return to normal. He heard the elevator chime softly. Sophie stepped into his office like a breath of warm air. She wore a crimson dress that seemed to glow against the pale afternoon light. Her blonde hair fell in waves past her shoulders, and her smile was warm but cautious. She was beautiful, yes, but there was something else about her. A quiet intelligence in her eyes, a thoughtfulness in the way she looked around the room before meeting his gaze. "Mr. Hayes?" She extended her hand. "Marcus," he corrected, standing to shake it. Her grip was firm and brief. "I'm Sophie," she said. "Before we talk details, I want you to know that I don't do this often. I'm actually a teacher, elementary school art. I'm only doing this because..." She paused, seeming to decide how much to share. "Well, I have student loans that feel like mountains. The money helps." Marcus felt something unexpected. Not pity, not condescension, just a recognition of honesty. "I appreciate that. And I should tell you, this isn't about anything inappropriate. I just need someone to accompany me to a gala. My mother is worried. My board members wonder questions. I'm tired of the narrative." Sophie nodded slowly. "So we're going to be a story." "For a week," he confirmed. She smiled then, a real smile that reached her eyes. "Okay, let's make it a good one." The gala was everything Marcus had anticipated, elegant, crowded, and suffocating. But with Sophie at his side, something shifted. She didn't cling to him or overplay the role. Instead, she moved through the evening with genuine grace, speaking thoughtfully to his colleagues' wives about the art programs in public schools, asking questions about their lives, actually listening to their answers. His mother was delighted. More than delighted. She pulled him aside at one point and whispered, "She's lovely, Marcus. She seems real." He wanted to tell her the truth. Instead, he said nothing. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Sophie came to the penthouse each morning with coffee and croissants. They would sit on the terrace, overlooking the endless blue, and talk. She told him about her students and their chaotic, brilliant art projects. He told her about the buildings he loved most, not the tallest ones, but the ones that had soul. The ones where people actually wanted to live. On Wednesday, they went to a gallery. On Thursday, they walked along the beach. On Friday, they got caught in the rain and laughed like neither of them had laughed in years. He found himself wanting to know her middle name, her favorite childhood memory, the small scar on her left knee. Saturday morning arrived before he was ready for it. Sophie stood in his office again, this time with her suitcase by her side. The termination of their agreement. 7 days, complete. "I should go," she said quietly. "Before this becomes something we can't explain." Marcus felt his chest tighten. What if I don't want it to end? Sophie turned to face him, and he saw conflict in her eyes. Marcus, I'm a teacher making minimum wage. You're a CEO? This was supposed to be a transaction. We both knew that. If we try to make it real, eventually the fairy tale falls apart, and I don't want to watch it happen. He crossed the room toward her. What if it's already real? Not because of the money or the penthouse or any of this. He gestured around the office. But because of that morning you fell asleep on the terrace, and I watched you smile in your dreams. Because of the way you remember every detail when I tell you something. Because every second without you feels like I'm holding my breath. Don't, Sophie whispered. Too late. He took her hand. What if I need you? Not as a companion or a date. As you. Sophie. The woman who teaches 8-year-olds about color theory and genuinely cares if they understand. Sophie looked out at the ocean, at the white columns framing the endless blue. That's not fair. You can't change the rules mid-game. I'm not changing the rules, Marcus said gently. I'm admitting I want to play a different game entirely. One without an end date. One where we figure this out together. She was quiet for a long time. I was supposed to be the paid companion, she finally said. I wasn't supposed to fall in love with you. His breath caught. You? On Tuesday, she continued, turning to face him with tears in her eyes. When you were on that call with Tokyo, and you got frustrated with yourself for not understanding their concerns, and you asked me what I thought, and you actually listened to my answer. That's when I knew. Marcus pulled her close. Not with the careful distance of their arrangement. With the closeness of something real. Stay, he said. Not for money. Not for a week. Just stay. Sophie rested her head against his chest and breathed in the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with ocean air. I'm terrified. So am I, he admitted. But I'd rather be terrified with you than comfortable alone. Outside, the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. The ocean reflected it all back, a mirror of light and possibility. In that moment, neither of them was thinking about how this had started. The $10,000 seemed like ancient history, a currency that had purchased something far more valuable than either of them had expected. Sophie smiled up at him. Okay, she said softly. I'll stay. Not as a hired companion. Not playing a role. Just as Sophie. Just as Sophie, he repeated and kissed her gently. The penthouse around them seemed to exhale, as if even the building understood that everything had changed. The empty rooms suddenly felt full of possibility. The lonely CEO was alone no longer. And sometimes, that's all anyone really needs, to be seen, to be valued, to be loved not for the role you play, but for exactly who you are.